Okay, so it's looks like 7:01. Let's call the meeting to order. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. No visitors. So are you watching the chat window? Is that?
I am, and there isn't anything.
Okay. Just know if there is. Has everybody had a chance? I'm gonna look at the minutes again. They're brief.
Where are you at that meeting? Oh. Yeah. Hey, let's fix that. Jan is on.
Oh, good. Hi, Jan.
We'll look at her pictures. Yep.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes with the change of. Please go back. Well, you meant this for the clerk.
Good call. I'll second.
There's Jan. Hi, Jan. Just kidding.
Call for a vote.
And a couple people there too.
Hi, Jan.
Okay, can we vote on the minutes, please?
Ben,
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
Diane,
Yes.
Jan, you okay with the minutes? Thank you.
Unmute. There we go.
Amy?
Yes.
He's the
Holly, do you have a report for us?
Not really too much of a report, just really busy lately, lots of building stuff going on. Usual stuff during the summer, a lot of grass notices going out and fun things like that, so.
I've seen some construction going on around town,
That's why I said lots and lots of,
siding. and things like
Permits and
that.
stuff?
lots of permits.
That's really
That's good.
great.
So yes, it's been pretty constant.
It's good to see the town getting some upgrades.
Absolutely, so. Roof, siding, decks, fences, lots of pools, a couple garages. I mean, so quite a few things.
People want to be outside.
Yes. Yes,
I get it.
even with the construction prices rising, and I mean, there's still a lot going on, so.
Mhm. That's interesting. Yeah, that's good to know. Okay, well, thank you. Darwin, do you have anything for us?
Madam Chair, just one item for you. We are starting the budget preparation process, and part of the budget process is preparing a capital improvement plan. That should be on the Planning Commission's radar because later this summer, if the Planning Commission is required to give review and either recommendation or approval to certain items in that capital improvement plan, those items will be coming before you for review. So,
Do you mean they'll be coming to us before the plan is completely compiled and?
before it is adopted by the village council.
Okay. Anything else for us?
That's all I have.
Okay.
Thank you.
We don't have any unfinished business listed unless somebody wants to go backtrack on anything. Okay. Okay. Oh, he's trying to talk.
Jen, you're muted again. There you go. I can hear you.
Okay, well, 132 South Monroe Street has been both on planning commission agendas and council agendas. We don't seem to be getting anywhere. I'd like to know what type of steps we have to take as members to get this satisfactorily done. Darwin, can you help me on that?
Sure. Thank you, Commissioner. So the Village Council held a public hearing on 132 South Monroe and agreed to the plan by the property owner to make improvements to the property short of further enforcement action at this time. Part of that plan part of the approval by the council was to have our building official perform 30-day reviews and determine every 30 days whether the property owner was complying with the plan that was presented to council. So Todd will be providing us with updated reports every month.
I believe Todd was planning on taking a drive by there. It was the end of last week. I don't remember if it was Thursday or Friday. Every day's kind of a blur. But he was gonna plan on going by there to see how he was kind of doing. And then, like you said, every 30 days, he's gonna go back out and he will keep us all informed.
Well, once we already gave them his time frame, I don't think we should be extending it. And we've been just going on for 5 years. And, it's just gotten to a point where it's out of control. Who's running it? The village or the guy who owns the property? I just think it's time that somebody gets off the pot.
I don't disagree with you. I don't understand why those things had to be dragged out so long. And I admit that I don't know why, but 5 years this is the one that had been in a fire and the guy bought it sight unseen, didn't know that, correct?
Correct.
And Jan, he did provide us a copy of a timeline that to the council that they did approve at the hearing, I believe, was it last week, the week before? We can get a copy of that to you also, so you have that, and to the rest of you guys. It's a copy of their timeline on what their plan is. It's already been approved by the council. So then now, like I said, that Darwin said, the building inspector will be going out every 30 days so that they are complying with this timeline that they gave us.
It's the time frame that I'm after. Because, okay, Todd's gonna go and look at it, but he's given himself another 30 days, and I don't want that.
Right, and it's to see improvement, so they have to be out there working on it. Like major improvement within that 30 days. And if I remember the timeline correctly, I don't have it here in front of me, but I believe they're gonna try to get all of the outside work done before they move to the inside. And I think they're planning all of 21 and all of 22, but all of 21, they're planning on doing all of the outside work, and then they'll move to the inside after that. I believe they're gonna do all new doors, windows, everything on the outside.
I think we're still giving him an out. I think we should be enforcing the law on our behalf, because this is just getting to be a rodeo.
I agree, I do too. But unfortunately, with it going into the council's hands and it being voted on, there's nothing that really we, as the planning commission, can really do with it.
Right. How, Jan,
Yeah.
how upset are residents in the area and how willing are they to come in here and say, okay, this isn't, I mean, you know, because we have no authority, but you guys have to live with it.
Well, that doesn't sound very professional, but I think somehow Jeff's got to get on this, and he's got to show more enforcement than what he's doing. He's laying back too far. I don't know the fundamentals of it, but something somewhere has got to be done. I guess I'll wait and see until Todd gets back and see what we can do from there.
And I'll keep in touch with Todd and make sure he's going out there and you know that there is progress going on, Jan.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is a really good entree into what I wanted to talk about tonight. The way this started for me is I had two neighbors seek me out a couple of months ago. Separately, they hadn't spoken to each other about it. They didn't know that the other had talked to me, and they're not next door. They're not adjacent to me, really. They were concerned about the house next to me that was in increasing rough shape and had relatively new residents there. They hadn't been there more than a year. And it was rough, and it was, yes, it was concerning to me. I didn't realize it was concerning to them, even though one was on the next block and one was the block behind. And it was it was a little bit comforting for me to know that there were other people who had noticed and were concerned about it. And I thought it was funny, they didn't know I was the planning commission chair, but they came to me because I'm the closest to it, I guess. And people were worried about their property value, and I was worried about my property value because we know that it's a seller's market. But what if you have this situation next door to you? You know. So it got me thinking about my prior term on the planning commission, which was a number of years ago now, but Jan was there. And one of the things that we talked about, Jim O'Brien brought it up, was, does the board have a responsibility to protect housing stock in the village? And I always thought that was a really interesting question. And we did discuss it, and we talked about what could we do to just motivate people. We had several complaints about the paint on the house at Union and South Lane Street. And, you know, we were sort of brainstorming ways to just help people, you know, upgrade a little bit and work on their properties. So it wasn't a hardship on them to do. So the more I thought about it and the more I was in that situation, the more I thought about the fact that living in a neighborhood is a social contract. And I think that it's not out of place for this board to think about that and about, you know, we have standards for business properties, And we've done a lot. Heather's doing such a great job trying to attract businesses and make it a more vibrant economy. But if there's not equal attention on both sides, business and residential, eventually the businesses are going to go somewhere else because people want to move here, and the tax base shrinks, and they can't make any money. So I wanted to see whether this board was interested in just doing some brainstorming on this. I don't want this to be a thing. It's been kind of exciting to me to think about the creative ways that maybe we could be helpful as a board. Instead of, we haven't been in a meeting since January, let's come in here and figure stuff out. So I brought some information. I think getting people invested and going at it from a positive direction is the only way to do it. I don't know if anybody has ever heard of Ireland's Tidy Towns contest, but it's very old. It goes back to 1958, I think. And it's this big competition between towns in Ireland to keep their surroundings pleasant and appealing to visitors. And I think that applies beautifully to us. We're small. We want to be appealing to visitors. So I printed out their sort of history just so people, if you're interested in how they do it and why they do it. And this isn't, I don't even want to say it because then it's out there. This is not about telling people what colors to paint their houses. This is about what do we expect as basic, what do we think are the basics of residential property? And it isn't about giving Holly another job. As someone recently said to me, Holly has 5 jobs. So I think that we could be more hands-on. There are, ultimately, 7 of us, right? 6. It's supposed to be 7, right? Okay. So there would be ways that we could be helpful that wouldn't put anything else on anybody here who's already, on the ragged edge. I know some properties in my neighborhood that are concerning. They're not the house that's, been in a fire and is still trying to stand. But stopping it before it gets to that point is, ideal. So, we can keep notes and say, even if it's just a matter of passing it on to the village, and then if there's something enforceable, they'll be aware. And in the meantime, if we can define sort of, what are the basics of maintaining a residential property so you are not siphoning off not only your own property value, but your neighbors. Because the social contract, I think, is almost the peer pressure of, everybody around me keeps a really nice yard, I want to too. I like my neighbors. I want, what I mean? If there's more, if people can get invested in that, it's its own groundswell,
The situation you're speaking of, is it yard maintenance or is it home repair or what exactly?
It was a variety of things. It was Christmas decorations flapping in the wind and still out in April, hanging from the rafters. It was 3 cars at a time parked on the lawn. It's a very in my case, in the case of my neighborhood, it's a very non-conforming house. It is built out to the property lines. The driveway is against the house. The driveway on the other side leaves about 2 feet to the property line. And people move in and then realize, oh, this is a narrow, long driveway. I don't want to back down it, so they park in the yard. And every time, I've lived there for 23 years, and every time the house changes hands, it gets worse. And that's just a fact.
Where do you live?
On North Lane Street.
On North, right, okay.
And we do have certain things in the ordinance, but there's also only certain things that we can go by in the ordinance. Blight, garbage out front, building materials not put away, outdoor storage, trash, rubbish, the lawn, the weeds. We can't send letters telling people that they're not allowed to have their Christmas decorations out until April.
Well, see, I think that's a problem, but I don't think it's the village's problem. I think that the planning commission can have some standards about stuff like that and send a letter that says, please see to this. It's been up for too long. We have temporary sign ordinances that won't let you leave a sign up.
Well, correct, but see, that is part of the ordinance. The only problem with that, a letter coming from the planning commission has to follow the ordinance. So we
Okay.
could not, as the planning commission, send a letter that's saying, hi, can you please take your Christmas ornaments down? It's now June. Because they can come and say, well, where in the ordinance is it telling me that I can't have Christmas ornaments up until June?
Good. I'm glad that that's clear, because then we need to look at what ordinances we want to add, because we can at least take that to
But-
council.
Then that's coming back, I mean, do we want to be the village that's saying you can't put your Christmas ornaments up? What if they're tasteful? I understand the flapping and the wind and I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
I know, but we've got so
Right.
many devil's advocates, and we haven't had this
And-
conversation.
We can't, that's getting to the point of us saying, like, you pay property taxes to be able to live in this village, to do somewhat what you want in your property.
And so do I. And so
Correct.
do I. And their house is by ordinance is too close to mine and too close to their neighbors. It's not their fault. It's been there for, ever and a day.
Correct, so that would be grandfathered to that ordinance.
Right.
Right, so. You see what, I'm not saying that I understand, because I spend, 8 hours a week on my yard. And I think it looks pretty nice, and I would not want my neighbor. Where is it us as the village's place to say, you can't put lights up, or you can't do this?
You can't have your temporary sign up more than X days. It's the same thing. As far as I'm concerned, it's the same thing. A business person, whether I would like to have a conversation about it, and I would like to know whether the board would like to have a conversation about it.
The reason I was asking what the issues were, because I was thinking of some kind of support that could be given to people that need
Exactly.
help. Whether it be referral, whether it be maybe some kind of slush fund, we have something to help them maybe take down their decorations.
Well, right, and in this case,
Or
there
I
was-
was thinking more of repair, but
Right.
anyway.
Well, right, that's not the best example, but I'm just telling you that what I've been looking at for a year. And when it's a muddy lawn because there have been cars coming and going, and one of the cars is inoperable and has been sitting there, and people keep coming to me saying, I called the village, they don't do anything. I'm not saying that's true, but that's what they've said. It was an incapacitated car, it had to be towed away, and it was in the yard for months.
What is the difference between blight and decorating?
What's the difference between what?
What is the difference between blight and decorations?
Light and decorations.
Yeah, well,
Depends on how blighted the decorations are, I'd say.
Well,
I think blight would be more serious.
Blight is very serious.
Yeah.
And when you ask what the nature of it is, I also can tell you that the backyard was full of trash and had been burned. They had had fires back there, so there's no grass. And I was looking at that from my second story windows, which I know isn't the village's problem, but it is a problem. And it's a problem if somebody wants to come through my house or the house on the corner, catty corner for me, where they keep it, they're impeccable with their property. And the one next to them has, an enclosed porch full of trash that you can see from the road. So I just think there's gotta be a middle ground.
Now, there are some programs to help with people who need assistance for repairs and stuff, right?
correct.
But there is nothing that really helps with cleanup. or
No,
anything
I
like that.
don't, not that I'm aware of. I know like probably local churches maybe would help with stuff like that. It's also getting the people willing to
Right,
accept
no,
the help.
Right.
Right.
And that's
Right,
the
no,
thing.
what I was just clarifying that we do
We
have
do.
programs that we can direct people to help with
Absolutely,
repairs.
Department of Aging, yes, you have to be certain age, stuff like that,
And there's furlough income and stuff that
Correct.
they can help with repairs for windows and.
correct.
And I think
painting.
mustering some of those resources and compiling even them would be a
I
step in the right
believe they have,
direction.
right? At least for those type city, the village already has that.
And how is that information
Given to
given
the
out?
people.
people can ask for, when we did the big blight sweeps, that was sent out to everybody that got a letter that needed to fix something, they all got the information. It just depends on what the state's offering at that time.
Right, that's what I thought you guys had done, that
Correct.
they had offered, when they sent the letters, they had sent out, here, these are assistant places that you can go to as well.
Correct.
But I just also want to clarify, we do not have any sort of program at this point that we could like refer to if they need help with cleaning. I mean, because, you know, they could be elderly or disabled in some way and no longer, it could have happened, and I'm not saying this is your case, but somebody could have put their Christmas ornaments up, especially if they're elderly, fell, got hurt, and are no longer able to take them down. You know, I know that I'm not saying that, but we don't currently have a way to go have them helped. So we need to figure out maybe a way to do that.
Well, and that's a lot of, as I said, it's been really interesting to me, and I've been thinking a lot about you because I get sort of excited when I think about, you know, I wrote grants for 6 years. They're something like a facade residences instead, you know, as there is for businesses. I thought that was kind of a cool idea. Tiny Towns is a contest between the towns in Ireland, and it's become very competitive, and that they take a lot of pride in winning that contest. And I was talking to another friend from Blissfield about it, and you know, it doesn't have to be, I mean, it doesn't have to be our town against somebody else. It could be the best block contest, or the, you know, quadrant of the village. You know, we're divided up pretty nicely, maybe 4, you know, parts of the village are competing or something, and it's all opt-in. I mean, it's all opt-in. It's nobody can be required to do it. But before we went down a different road, what I was going to say is that we come at it from a positive place and get people invested in, you know, it's
Right.
better for all of us. I really think there are people out there who either don't understand the importance of maintaining their own property value and working in cooperation with their neighbors to protect everybody's. Either they don't really know about that, or they're not the owners. And so they're not sort of thinking that way.
Well, I got some rental houses down for me that I understand that about.
So, well,
Absolutely.
and so if we can get landlords involved in, you know, this property has value to you right now because I let you live in it, and to me because it's an asset. Do you know what I mean? I just think there could be an educational aspect that's needed. I think anything is 100% better than nothing. And I'm just wondering what you guys think, and if you'd be willing to, you know, sort of engage in that.
How do I put this? I'm trying to figure out, because I agree with your ideas. I like your ideas. I'm not sure it's something the planning commission can do. Because I think we need, like, the planning commission, is what we do, we don't write up and make up this competition. That's not in the planning commission's purview per se, I wouldn't think.
But we could. We just can't, I mean, we're a group who's already concerned about the, you know, we know the zoning, you know, map. We know if we wanted to make that important to us, we don't have to vote. I mean, nobody has to vote on it. We can't enforce it, but we can encourage it. And I just feel like if we're a planning commission that deals with that stuff, I mean, pretty soon, I feel like, I mean, I've done this a long time. My first term was 7 years, and I think I think I'm in my 4th now. So pretty soon, maybe I'm gonna turn into that, you know, resident who doesn't really care because I feel like it doesn't have any impact. You know, like, what am I? January 5th, that was a great meeting. It's June, you know, like, I just don't know why we couldn't take something on that might be, you know, not in the strict definition of what we do, but is related and could be positive. And Darwin, maybe, you know, like, am I proposing something illegal? Like,
Well, I wouldn't say that. What I would say is that the planning commission the authority that you have as a planning commission is derived from a few state statutes. The Planning Enabling Act, the Zoning Enabling Act, the Condominium Act, the Subdivision Control Act. There are responsibilities for the planning commission under those state statutes. You don't have the authority to engage in enforcement efforts. Those are handled through the village's police powers, through other agencies, through our police department, through the village council, through administration. If planning commissioners wanted to, as a group, volunteer their time, not under the auspices of the planning commission, but as individuals, to undertake educational efforts or what have you, is perfectly within your right as individuals to do that. I'm not the village attorney, so don't take this as legal advice, but I'm not sure you could do it under the auspices of the planning commission.
Okay. Okay, well, that's good to know.
And that's kind of what I was trying to say. I just didn't think we could do that under the auspices. As I said, I like your ideas. I'm not against trying to figure out a way that we could, one, maybe come up with a list of people and stuff that would volunteer and provide them to Holly, so to help people with cleanup. I mean, whether we talk to churches or Boy Scouts or excellent idea, you know, for any of those groups, you know, and get a list that go, here,
So
Holly, you could refer these people to them.
Correct. And I know right now, the school is not doing the community service stuff because of COVID. But who knows, next year, they have to have 40 hours of community service
Right.
during their 4 years. So that's something that we can try to get out there because they're always looking for stuff to do,
You know.
the high school kids.
Right, so I mean, it'd be nice, you know, if we could figure out a way to get her a list, again, obviously this would have to be on our own, not as the commission itself, but we could, you know, maybe we could figure out a way to do that.
Come up with a committee of some
You know,
sorts that.
and this idea of, you know, maybe dividing the city up into like 4 clubs or having a competition for beautification purposes is not a bad thing, but maybe we need to get somebody, JC's or Lions Club or somebody
Involved.
to sponsor it, so to speak, and promote it. And again, that's something, and it doesn't seem, I don't think there's anything that would be illegal to say, we back this idea. We like this idea, you know, as a commission either. To get one of them to go into this tiny town cleanup idea.
If the council, you know, is in charge of the enforcing, and this is a question I've always had, how does like Amy's concern get brought forward to the council? I'd like what we're discussing to go forward
Yes.
in any meeting.
So really the way to handle enforcement is for anyone who has a concern about a property condition or what have you, is to make administration aware of it. Send us an email, give us a phone call, so that we can note it. We can make sure we do our follow-up to see what portions of the village code, whether it's our nuisance code, whether it's the International Property Maintenance Code. We currently operate under the 2006 Property Maintenance Code, and then we can follow up with enforcement from there. So I strongly encourage anyone who has concerns about the condition of a property to simply contact us and we can follow up on it.
Does the council have access to our minutes? Do they read our minutes?
I don't know if they read your minutes.
They have access.
You might
They have
ask the council
access. I
members
mean,
that,
I
but-
just think that kind of close communication is important, and I've seen that. To me, it seems to be missing. There's a gap there. And
That's a good point, because if they don't know that a conversation is going on about whatever, that they might be interested in or could be proactive and reach out about.
Right.
Well, and that's why Jan is a council member is here too.
Okay, he's a liaison, right? So it's up to him to communicate.
Put it on your shoulders, Jan.
It's all you, man. Yeah, I just wanted to see that kind of flow.
Or another way to handle it is
Here it comes.
if you have a concern about something as a commission, that may be outside of your purview, you can always adopt a motion to have the chair send a communication to the village council directly on your concern. And we can make sure that that communication is forwarded on.
Okay. Thank you.
And it goes through here. Okay, I get it. Okay, well, let me, since we're on this subject anyway, at the same property, this is one of those things where I think it is an ordinance issue. And I was, perusing them for fun the other day. I believe that it is incumbent on property owners. First of all, I should say, this house has now been abandoned by all of the people who were coming and going, and the various and sundry people who had been living there at some point. It's an absentee owner. I don't know if that person knows these people are gone. So I have a concern, and my neighbors do too. I'm not self-interested bringing this to you because it's me. My neighbors clearly do too, that it's just going to get worse because, we don't even know if one, hand knows what the other's doing. So it's worrying for us. But I believe that it's incumbent on property owners not to impede the sidewalk. You have to keep the right of way clear in front of your house. Okay, this house also has a gravel apron that has been so dug out by very heavy pickups coming in, bouncing up onto the sidewalk and pushing up the gravel, that parents are pushing baby strollers out into the road to get around it because they can't go over it. I don't know if there's anything we can do about rocks in the driveway. I mean, impeding, it's gonna be more like parking your car over, so they have to go around. So unfortunately, that's why most of the time now, if anybody pours driveways, we require that it is a concrete approach. Well, yeah. For that reason, because our DPW hates it also. But I mean, we also can't go around and tell them that but if they do come to us at some point saying that, then we are gonna require that it's gonna be a concrete approach. So yes, you are correct on the impeding of the sidewalk thing. That's more like I said, if a car is, then you're not allowed to park over the sidewalk. Well, there's an infrastructure issue, I can just tell you at this place, because you can see the sidewalk, all of it. It's that dug out. That can't be good, right? I mean, I'm just letting you know that it's a really weird, I've never seen it before. And I was there when my driveway used to be gravel. We put our driveway in, all the way down, and the neighbor was really excited. She's like, I'm gonna put a driveway in. Didn't want to pay for the apron, so she left it. And everybody else is dealing with it now, and she's long gone, many years. So it's just, I'm glad that that's required now.
I do know that the sidewalks are on the DPW's list right now. They've gone around, and I don't know if that one's on there. If there is something with the actual sidewalk itself, it will be repaired, but cut to the apron part of it, unless it's something,
I have seen the markings on the sidewalks. I was kind of excited that, because some of them are.
And we can look at the provisions of the sidewalk ordinance to determine, because we do have provisions that it is the property owner's responsibility to maintain their sidewalks free and clear of snow and ice. I've seen some ordinances that go beyond that and say any obstruction. So we can see what our ordinance says, and there may be provisions in there. If there are, that you have to keep your sidewalk cleared of any type of obstruction, then we may be able to enforce that.
Okay.
Do we have about snow and ice on ours? Because the village I know does the snow removal on it.
That's more like a convenience type
Right,
thing.
because I know that quite often as a runner, I'm well aware of how many people do not actually clean their sidewalks.
As a dog walker, same.
The snow gets packed, then the village comes across, scrapes the snow off, but the leaves, these ruts of ice, and they just.
We've had this conversation. Well, I'm glad to know that, Darwin. I appreciate it. And I've just been here long enough, and I've really cared about this village and tried to
put myself into it. And I don't want it to be a place that says, well, suck it up, too bad, it's a mess and it's inconvenient and you can trip and you can't get your baby. Suck it up, too bad. I just would hate to think that that was the case, so.
So to me, anything that, if you need some help with anything on trying to line up people, you know, figure out like who to maybe get to work with this, with the Lions or somebody, or trying to compile a list of people that may be willing to do the physical labor that helps people get rid of stuff, because as you said, we don't have a list for that. I'd be happy to help with that.
Okay, well, thank you,
So,
good to know. Appreciate that. That's kind of what I just wanted to get the temperature of the room and see, you know.
as I said, I just don't know if it's, I don't know, he backed me up that I don't think it's in our purview to do that.
Yeah.
So, but as I said, I don't
But as
see
a
what,
group of people who kind of know a little bit more about the village, you know, where things are, if we decided we wanted to do that as, you know, citizens, I think we could,
Right.
and we'd be a good place to start.
and I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we should be able to, like, if we have Lions do the counties thing, right? That's Heidi Towns. If we got Lions that kind of sponsor that or something, I'm just throwing this out there,
Mhm.
that we could even then say, you know, backed by the planning commission, that we support it, or supported by the planning commission, right? If we all agreed to support it or not.
Again, a non-legal answer for you.
Right, no, I just
Would
figured
be,
because,
I'm not aware of anything that would be a problem in doing that, in expressing your support for that type of project. I'm not aware of any impediment.
For that member, as individuals with our titles following our names, we could, do you know what I mean? Because if I can't say, you know, Amy Campbell, Planning Commission Chair, as an individual, what am I doing? Like, you know what I mean? I mean, if it wasn't important to me, you know what I mean? You could say, member of the Planning Commission, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then we'd
Well,
have 7 names
I'm just
instead
saying,
of
if,
one.
and if we said, or if we all voted that we agreed to back it, there's no reason we couldn't just say supported by the commission, you know. But I would think we'd have to make sure we all agree to back it if we're gonna put it as.
Yeah, sure, as the group,
If
yeah.
you're going to use your title as a commissioner, as a planning commissioner, you really need to have the approval of the entire board. Otherwise, you shouldn't use your title. I would encourage you only to use your title if it's something the board has voted on and expressed as a board that they support. Because by using your title as planning commission chair or member of the planning commission, it would give the appearance that it has the support of the entire planning commission when it may not. And I'm not talking just about this particular issue, but any issue. So that's why you need to be cautious about using your official title.
That's why I said we should just probably make sure we're all on board with it.
Any thoughts?
Yeah, I was actually thinking of, I guess how to come up with a list of residents' addresses, and then the proper or correct way to approach each of those, because I'm sure there could be multiple reasons why they're not able to or wanting to, and I like your ideas, I like all of them, but I was just, how do we reach out to those people?
Yeah, and I think it's more of a sort of inviting people to sort of participate versus singling them out. To say, even the do you need help, we know that a lot of times that's not it. That's not it. They don't want to do it. They've never, I mean, honestly, everybody's a first time homeowner once, and if they've never lived in a neighborhood, they kind of don't know, you know, but they physically can do it. So that's, I just want to, I do kind of think we should be careful of assuming that everybody who, you know, their property kind of doesn't match in the neighborhood, and it's kind of, you know, and it's, if it looks run down or whatever.
And now where
Yes,
this would come in really nice.
Exactly.
I agree. And, you know, again, if we came up with a list of, well, we could get the list from Holly of financial help And we can get and if we put together a list of places that would be physical willing to help, you can send out, get the Lions or somebody to back this, then they can send out a letter of, hey, we wanna do this, and here
And they go
are
together, yeah, that's a good
as
idea.
well, and that people can utilize. And you're not pushing anybody, pointing them out.
If you want to jumpstart, even, could go to everybody, if you want to jumpstart on this and you have, because frankly, I live alone. Anything that happens at my house, anything gets done because I did it. And so right now, I have about a third of my front yard missing because I needed a new sewer line in January. So it was dug up all the way to the sidewalk, and I don't know how to get that all done at once. Me by myself with a hose in one hand and a rake in the other, and there's some seed. I've been trying to find somebody to do it and I can't. So that's, but I'm not too old to do it, and I'm not too,
But I mean, again,
challenged.
sometimes it's just a matter of, it's not even necessarily about age or anything else like that. Sometimes it's, as you said, one person can't always do the job by
Right,
themselves
exactly.
too, so.
Yeah.
It's just that we can come up with a list and we can get Holly to provide us with a list of the financial ones, and we can kind of all work together maybe and help to get somebody, one of the service clubs to help with this, and we could, kind of come up with,
Another thought I had is, and we might not wanna think of titling it like this, but like have an annual Blissfield cleanup day,
Mm-hmm,
something like that.
yeah.
And then bringing all these resources to bear, or at least giving pamphlets out to let people know, and everybody getting together as a community and cleaning up.
It's funny that you say that, because I've been thinking about that. One of my favorite books when I was a kid that my mother would read to us was called Junk Day on Juniper Street. And it was just about how everybody brought their junk out onto the curb, and they thought it was gonna go away, there was gonna be a collection of it. But then neighbors started going to each other's junk piles and taking stuff and meeting each other, and it was really cool. I always thought it was a neat story, so.
I mean, we're cleaning up the River Raisin, I mean, why not, have something like that in the village.
Mhm.
They have road sales every year, why not,
Yeah.
something like that. It'd get everybody's attention.
Yeah, it made me think about block parties too, like kick something off as a block party on every block. My sister's neighborhood has a block party, they have a blast, they wouldn't miss it, so.
Do we wanna put this on the, agenda for next time to continue discussion, or what do you think? No? Sometimes ideas come to me later.
There's not really much that we can do as the planning commission.
yeah, this is
It's
more
gonna
of an
have
on
to
our
be
own
more
kind of
of
thing
a-
if we're gonna do this, not as the planning commission itself,
Yeah.
so. And I don't think it's right that we use the village's
Then
taxpayer
it's
dollar
not,
to do it.
so it's not on our, then it shouldn't be in our hands.
Yeah, well, going forward, I guess.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, well, thank you for the conversation, I appreciate it. What are we looking at here?
So this is a scope of services that was given to us for the comprehensive land use plan, the public participation plan, and an economic development strategy. And all of these are part of the RRC redevelopment ready communities process. So the DDA at their last board meeting it goes through all of the different steps of each one of the plans or strategies. And then it also gives the pricing for the three. I did reach out to the NEDC, and they are giving us a technical assistance grant, which is going to pay for $29,250 of the $39,000. And then the DDA board did approve up to, I believe, $6,000 And then council approved up to 6,000 because I didn't have that exact number yet for the grant money that we were receiving. All of these, I believe it said it's gonna take approximately 11 months once we get going to complete these. But the comprehensive land use plan will be on our scope.
And this is an assessment? Or
I do know that it's similar to the master plan for our community, correct? The comprehensive.
Yes.
thing.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Some
Just
people call it a master plan, some communities call it a comprehensive plan.
So it's the same thing you were telling us about earlier that we would be asked to look at if it came into our, if it was in our purview, is that?
similar question, like why are you bringing it to us? What do you want from the planning?
So I believe the planning commission has to approve parts of the comprehensive plan.
Correct.
Right, that's.
The planning commission is primarily responsible for the comprehensive plan, so McKenna would be working with the planning commission to work through the elements of this plan. And the planning commission would be responsible for final review and recommendation for approval of the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan or master plan is required to be reviewed and updated once every 5 years if the community determines that updates are necessary. So this is a required process, but also a process that the planning commission should be regularly undertaking. So some of the other elements, like the economic development strategies and some of those things, I think are add-ons. But the comprehensive plan itself reviews the basic elements of the community's master plan.
I also noticed it had a Blissfield zoning ordinance portion to it to go, so it works with the comprehensive plan.
I think
So I think they'll probably review some of that too, probably.
I looked at that part and I have not talked to McKenna about this. I think they've been working primarily through Heather, but I think what they're proposing in here is a general review of the zoning of the community and making recommendations on any changes to it, but it wouldn't actually be a rewrite of our zoning.
Right, but that could be something else that would be in our.
That would come out of it.
Right. Yeah, first the community updates its comprehensive plan and makes whatever changes to the future land use plan as part of the comprehensive plan. And then the next step of the process is then reviewing the zoning ordinance or the zoning code.
So that's what does what it does.
So that it reflects what you did with your comprehensive plan.
There is also a joint training session that's listed under step 1, the kickoff strategy issues. That all of the village council planning commission, the DDA, is like an educational session on the master plan process.
What page is that?
4.
And McKenna is being paid through a grant. plus some small amount of money that the council approved
Yeah,
of,
And the DDA.
and the DDA.
And it's almost the total, right? It's 29.
29,250, I believe.
Just to further complicate things for you.
Oh, good.
So the master plan or the comprehensive plan and the capital improvement plan are two things that are governed by the Michigan Planning Enabling Act. So that's one of the state statutes that you have authority under. And so the Planning Enabling Act outlines the process and the content of the master plan, what the planning commission should be doing to step through that process, and also as it regards to the capital improvement plan of the community. Those two things are governed in the Planning Enabling Act. You mentioned the zoning ordinance, the zoning code. That is covered under the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act, which also gives you certain authority. That is a separate statute, a separate process. But they do work together from the standpoint of the zoning ordinance or zoning code has to reflect what you adopted in your master plan. So I hope that didn't complicate things. I hope it sorted it out a little bit for you, but they all work in concert with each other.
So in other words, if we decided to change some area so that it was only residential that's currently commercial, we'd have to reflect that in our zoning.
You would first address it in the master plan as a future land use plan.
Yep.
And then in the zoning code is where you would address it from the actual zoning, changing the zoning.
To match. If I'm understanding you right.
You understand it exactly right.
So, okay, so yeah, I understand it here a little bit better. The following scope of services to assist Blissfield community in updating the 2017 comprehensive land use plan with all the necessary components to address the requirements of the redevelopment ready communities for the village's certification. So we want to be certified. And so, okay, they're helping us do that. Okay.
I just wanted everybody to have a copy of all that information.
Sounds good.
The village has used the kind of before. I don't know if it was best or something.
I think McKenna does a lot of stuff with a lot of launches.
Yeah, well, yeah.
They're well known.
Any announcements before we? Okay. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Jan,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.